So, hello everyone. Today's topic is how gender remains a primary barrier to women's workforce participation. So, let's start about this topic. And this topic is very, very important for UPSC, daily current affairs. This is also important for daily current affairs, and this is also important for prelims plus mains. So, I would definitely recommend you to read about this topic. So, let's start this topic. In addition to structural barriers like rigid work schedules and wage gaps, perceptions about gender also obstruct. Perceptions means the ability to see, hear, or become aware of something. Perceptions about gender also obstruct women's participation in the workforce, especially in blue and gray collar roles. What kind of policy interventions could help address this? So let's see. And I hope you will get a lot of knowledge. And I would also recommend you to read along with me and mark important points along with me. So let's start about this topic. Recent reports highlight systematic barriers to women's participation in the blue and grey collar workforce in India. Okay, and Ritu Parna Patanagri, a reporter or a journalist, she has written about this topic. As India celebrates the 79th Independence Day this week, it is also a moment to reflect on the country's journey towards inclusive growth. Okay, over the years, women's participation in the workforce has evolved. However, data shows that their participation varies across regions, such as rural and urban. Types of work, such as blue and gray collar jobs and gig based employment. Friends, here, blue and gray collar jobs. What does this mean? So this means that blue and gray collar jobs. So let's see what does this mean in the upcoming topic. So we will read about this and what does this gig based employment mean. So gig based employment means let's see what does gig based, an individual who earns income through temporary or project based jobs. And gig based, it means temporary jobs. So let's explore structural and social factors affecting women's participation in the workforce and ways to address this. Women's participation in the workforce, in addition to old age, disability, and factors that keep adults of legal working age away from participating in the labor force. This is, we are talking about women, not men. So, in addition to old age, disability, and factors that keep adults of legal working age away from participating in the labor force, there is a clear gender dimension to workforce participation in India. According to the Periodic Labor Force Survey PLFS 2022-2023, okay, conducted by the National Sample Service Survey Office NSSO, National Sample Survey SSO. This full form is also very important. You should need to remember this. Under the Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation, and this office comes under the Ministry of, like there are lots of ministries in India, Ministry of Home Affairs, Ministry of Foreign Affairs. In the same way, Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation. 8 in 10 men are part of the labor force compared to only 4 in 10 women. Okay. The female labor force participation rate remains lower than in other countries with comparable income and development levels. As such, women are considerably underrepresented in India's labor force. Many are still working, but in ways that are not counted in the gross domestic product of the nation. This gap is not just confined to rural India or women with lower levels of education, but women in urban areas, including those with graduate or higher education degrees, also remain outside the workforce. What does it mean, women in blue and gray collar jobs? The professionalism of any type of work usually means that men have better employment prospects than women. This is particularly true in blue and gray collar jobs. According to the PLFS 2022 and 2023, women's representation in blue and gray collar roles has increased from 16% in financial year 2021 to 2021 to 19% in 23-24. Although this shows some progress, the proportion remains very low. Blue and gray collar roles involve manual labor or technical work encompassing industries like retail, construction. Here we can see the meaning of blue and gray collar jobs. It means it includes roles involve manual labor or technical work encompassing industries like retail, construction, logistics, manufacturing, maintenance, and transportation. These often involve physical work, require technical or mechanical skills, and as such, vocational training it also includes. What does vocational training mean? Vocational means relating to an occupation or employment like saving cloth, cooking dishes, and lots of vocational training works. And apprenticeship. Apprenticeship means the position of an apprentice. Apprentice means a person who is learning a trade from a skilled labor, having agreed to work for a fixed period at low wages. Uh, it means a person who is learning a trade from a skilled employer. Okay, having agreed to okay, having agreed to work for a fixed period of time at low wages. Work settings are usually outdoors, factories, workshops, and construction sites, etc. So, according to the 2025 survey by Indeed, women indeed means used to emphasize a statement. Okay, women hold just 1 in 5 jobs in India's blue and grey collar workforce. Similarly, a report by the Udaiti Foundation in partnership with Quest Corp Limited and titled State of Women in the Blue Grey Collar Workforce 2025 highlights systematic barriers and the need for immediate policy interventions in this sector. Structural barriers. Although women have equal rights, let's see some structural barriers. What are they? We have seen that what is the current condition of women in blue and grey collar jobs, but we will now see structural barriers. What are stopping them from doing the job of blue and grey collar? So let's see. Although women have equal rights under the law, in practice they continue to face barriers to workforce participation. Although they have equal rights under the law, but in practice they continue to face barriers to workforce participation. Most of these barriers are structural. Rigid work schedules. Structural means rigid work schedules, wage inequality, limited training, and upskilling opportunities. Most women don't get upskilling opportunities because main advantage that they can go many parts of India, many parts of country to learn opportunities, learn skills, different types of skills. But women can't get this type of opportunities. So, and also women have lack of digital skills because mostly women nowadays are still uneducated, and if some are educated but they don't get digital skills uh, phone option to phones, mobile phones, etc. That's why they can't also work in IT sector jobs and lots of other technical works. Inadequate safety norms. You can also see in India, rape cases and other harassment type women face a lot. And that's why there are some safety norms and familial and child care responsibilities. They also have family burden like uh, like um, uh, samaj like society say wrong things about a female if she does some unordinary things, and she also have responsibilities of child care responsibility. All obstruct women's participation in the workforce, particularly in the blue and gray collar roles. Many of these jobs have fixed and long work schedules. Okay, families often discourage women from engaging in such jobs, and the dual burden of household duties and paid employment leaves them at a disadvantage. Because first of all, they feel a burden from household, and also they get paid less than men. So what can a woman do here? Because she has this responsibility to because she has the responsibility to um, uh, take care of her child, her the child's food and other factors like child's clothes. So where can she bring money? So she has to totally depend on men. So that's why the government is planning to make women a little bit freedom, free from other burdens, free from finance, making them financially free. Okay, Women also face wage gaps and inequality in the workforce, forcing some to exit the workforce. Okay, disparity in the gender disparity, it means difference in the level of treatment or other factors, especially one that is seen as unfair. Disparity, it means difference or unfair. Disparity in the gender pay gap remains a significant global issue. It's not the India's issue, it's also a global issue, highlighting deep rooted inequities in labor markets, lack of fairness or justice. Inequities highlighting deep-rooted inequities in labor markets. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, as of 2024, women worldwide earn $0.83 for each dollar earned by men, indicating a pay gap of 17%. It means if men earn 1%, then women just only earn $0.83. So there is a pay gap, and this is obvious because men have more stamina than a woman. Men can do more physical work, more intense work than a female. That's why many building owners would prefer to pay men much more than a woman. It's obvious because men are obvi- men have evolved from thousands of years to do intense set of works like fighting animals, like in our olden days, like when we were adi manovs, then we have uh, men have to fight to animals, kill animals for food, and many other tasks they have to do. But female have to care their children. Female have to do emotional works more than physical and intense work. So that's why women are not 100% capable, 100%. So women are not much more efficient than a man. That's why the companies pay uh, a man more than a woman. So mm, gender is the primary barrier. What is the primary barrier? Gender is the primary barrier. The Udaiti Foundation report reveals that women in India's blue and grey collar jobs earn only about 70% of men's wages. Half of these women are unhappy with their pay, and 80% save less than 2000 a month, or in many cases, nothing at all. Okay. Along with lower pay, factors such as poor work-life balance, male-dominated workplace cultures, and a lack of respect and recognition also also contribute to women's decisions to leave. The report also highlights that 52% of women with less than a year of work experience plan to quit within the next 12 months. Okay, the report also highlights that 52% of women with less than a year of work experience plan to quit within the next 12 months. With wages low and working conditions unsafe, women have minimal motivation or incentives to continue such jobs. I think that motivates minimal motivation or incentives to continue such jobs. But the primary barrier continues to be gender, which is the perception that women are not capable of performing physical and hard labor. Due to such perceptions, okay, the main barrier is um, the main barrier is a perception about women that women are not capable of performing physical and hard labor works. Due to such perceptions, employers often hesitate to hire them. Okay, this is the main reason. This is the primary reason. Many employers also believe that women prioritize family and child care responsibilities, which prevents them from hiring more women. Most importantly, many of them do not want to provide maternity benefits and other entitlements. Hence, they hire fewer women. Okay, maternity, motherhood benefits. They do not want to provide maternity benefits. Okay, and rise of the gig economy. The rise of the gig-based platform economy has also contributed to gender disparities. Many platform jobs, such as driving and delivery, are male-dominated and often perceived as unsafe or socially inappropriate for women. Social stigma, like a mark of disgrace associated with a particular quality or mark of disgrace, it means loss of reputation. Social stigma. ओके, सोशल स्टिग्मा मीन्स सामाजिक मतलब कि सामाजिक इज्जत सामाजिक व्यवहार. सोशल स्टिग्मा further discourages them from entering these roles. Studies led by economists such as Uma Rani show that the gig-based platforms reinforce existing gender biases, although they often promote themselves as flexible and empowering. Women are pushed in women are pushed into lower paid gig work like domestic help, parlor services, while men dominate the better paid delivery or transport sectors. Public space is less accessible to women, especially at night. Platform work is heavily dependent on mobility, something that has historically constrained Indian women's workforce participation, appearing forced or overly controlled. Platform work is what does the platform work? Platform work is heavily dependent on mobility, something that has historically constrained Indian women's workforce participation, appearing forced or overly controlled. Constant Indian This issue has been studied by scholars such as Silpa Phadke, Samira Khan, and Silpa Ranade in their book Why Loiteer. Loiteer means stand or wait around idly. Idly it means with no particular purpose. Women and risk in Mumbai streets 2011. Okay, scholars have shown how gendered experiences of commuting in cities affect women's participation in the workplace. Experiences Scholars have shown that gendered experiences of commuting in cities travel some distance between one's home and place of work on a regular basis, regular basis. Okay. Experiences of commuting in cities affect women's participation in the workforce. Transport inequality also intersects with caste and poverty, as women from marginalized communities often face additional barriers as they live in peripheral areas. Peripheral areas, it means relating to or situated on the edge or periphery of something with poor transport connectivity. Okay. Regional and identity based variations. There are also regional and identity based variations among women. The PLFS report shows that the unemployment rate for women has increased to 3.2% from 2.9%. A large part of this increase is driven by educated rural women who are unable to find work in the blue and grey collar sectors. This is largely because of a lack of digital skills and vocational training. Okay, so Nalde Desai notes that we were here. Okay, okay. So Nalde Desai notes in the paradox of declining female work participation in an era of economic growth 2019 that it is the absence of suitable jobs rather than women's with trouble from the labor force that accounts for declining female work participation. Okay, and upper caste women historically have lower labor force participation rates, particularly in blue and grey collar jobs. This is because paid work, particularly in these sectors, is often used as low status, leading families to discourage women from working outside the home. Muslim upper caste women also face similar cultural barriers, and as such, their labor force participation remains low. In comparison, women from lower castes tend to have greater labor force participation rates, often in informal low. In comparison, women from lower castes tend to have greater labor force participation rates, often in informal, low skilled, and underpaid roles, reflecting their intersectional vulnerab- vulnerability. This has been examined by several sociologists and economists, including Mukesh Iswaran, Bharat Ramaswamy, and Vadama in status, caste, and the time allocation of women in rural India 2013, and the Muzna Fatima Alvi in caste, religion, and the labor force participation of women. Evidence from India 2023. Arun Kumar Berwa and Zadav Zadav Chakradhar's study. Caste affiliation. Caste is the state of process of affiliating or being affiliated. Affiliating means officially affiliate करना. It means officially attach or connect. So Arun Kumar Berwa and Jadhav Chakradhar's study caste affiliation and access to high authority jobs in the Indian service sector 2024 also shows significant disparities between lower and upper castes in securing high authority positions. So how to mitigate such challenges? So to mitigate these challenges, so we have seen these problems about women. Now we will see how to solve these problems, solve these challenges. How to mitigate these challenges? To mitigate these challenges, a multi-pronged strategy addressing structural, cultural, and economic barriers is essential. Multi-pronged. Shabby. Okay. Okay, a multi-pronged strategy addressing structural, cultural, and economic barriers is essential. Implementation and enforcement of a minimum wage can implementation and enforcement of a minimum wage can also help close the wage gaps. Help close the wage gaps between men and women. Moreover, childcare and maternity costs need to be factored into employment policies to encourage women to be part of the workforce. Safety remains yet another key concern as many workplaces often lack basic measures like CCTV cameras and adequate lighting. Therefore, strengthening workforce infrastructure providing adequate sanitation, childcare facilities, and women-friendly amenities are crucial. Women-friendly amenities are desirable or useful feature or facility. Amenities, it means facility of a building. Offering transport and accommodation. Offering transport and accommodation for women can also help companies improve retention. At the policy level, greater emphasis on vocational and skill-based training for women. At the policy level, greater emphasis on vocational and skill-based training for women, particularly rural women, along with better mechanisms to connect trained women to suitable jobs would be a step in the right direction. Moreover, many field-facing roles across sectors do not have any formal grievance what does grievance means? Grievance meaning in Hindi. It means shikayat. Moreover, many field-facing roles across sectors do not have any formal shikayat grievance redressal systems. Establishing redressal, it means address indemnity or compensation for a wrong or grievance. A redressal system establishing such mechanisms would help women feel safe to report workplace issues and offer them better assurance that their concerns will be addressed. Similarly, more transparency in hiring rather than relying on word of mouth and reference based recruitment that often discourages women from applying would further help expansion and enforcement of labor laws with provisions for formal contracts and social security would complement other efforts. Okay, and women's work needs to be viewed from this lens. Only then we can move towards narrowing the gender gap in the workforce. Post-trade questions. Why? What explains women's lower participation in the workforce across rural and urban areas? Why does the gender pay gap persist in both formal and informal? So you can also solve these questions. You can take a screenshot of these questions and write in your own, so that um, you can you can make retention of what you have read earlier.